everybody! Today I'm doing something a little bit different than normal. I'm doing a reaction video to a video that was posted last year, about a year and a half ago from today, August 2018. I don't know if this is still relevant or not, but I know I've seen conversations kind of about this in the past, and I figured, you know what? So actually the story behind this is I was watching another YouTuber comment about this video, and I don't really enjoy listening to those sorts of things, so I figured I'd rather just cut it where I left off and pick it up myself and react to it myself and give my own 2 cents as an artist and somebody who's been on Tumblr, because I'm sure that's gonna come in here. So I should start out by saying that I don't know who this person is. I've never heard of them. That's just the way it be. Alright, let's get into these beans. So,
hi everyone! So today I'm going to be talking about something that I think isn't talked about enough, and it's an issue I think we have in today's contemporary art era, and it's the fact that the majority of artists between the ages of 12 and 15 through 16 basically have the exact same art style, and I think it's damaging people's art development.
Okay, so the first thing she says, she talks about children, right? Children. People usually around that age frame, there's trends, they happen, and children follow those trends. So whatever is popular on the time tends to be what a lot of kids' art style looks like. Like, for instance, right now, the whole Tumblr-ish art style seems to be, or was at least, very popular. When I was a kid, it was more of the doe-eyed anime girls or Naruto kind of art styles and stuff like that. And from a personal standpoint, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. From a more professional standpoint, saying that it stunts their development is kind of dumb and makes no fucking sense. Kids are kids, and when you just start drawing, you're gonna do whatever the heck you are capable of doing, and you naturally over time will push yourself more and more, and you'll learn. I don't know who she is. I didn't really investigate her stuff that much, but typically we all start out that way. I don't know why she's saying it as if you're not allowed to go through that developmental stage as a very young artist. So if you are watching this and you have a generic art style or some shit like that, I don't think that your growth is being stunted, and don't let this person tell you that it's not.
I went into DeviantArt to find some examples of artists like these to kind of represent the art style I'm talking about, and these are the people that I've picked. Renari, Yopio, Marbleach, Old Trash, and Minky. I hope none of you get offended by anything that I'm gonna say in this video, because I'm not trying to offend you. I'm actually just trying to give my opinion and just point out things that I noticed in people that have similar art styles to yours.
So, first of all, she's name dropping people, which I don't really know if I like or not, but moving past that, here's the thing, here's the tea. Nobody asked. As far as I'm aware, nobody fucking asked, because these are just random people. She's here, I'm gonna find these random people off of DeviantArt to be my example against her. Well, also, I'm just trying to give you free feedback, because I don't even fucking know. I don't get it, nobody asked. Yes, taking critique is a very important thing to an artist developmentally, but no one has to. You know what I'm saying? No one has to take critique to be an artist. And I'm going to say something that not everyone's going to agree with, but here's the thing. Some people just draw just to draw. Some people want to be quote-unquote good, but they're not really, really pursuing this. Not everybody is on the same level. So, if there is a very popular artist who is making a living off of their art, and they promote the kind of getting better situation, I want to keep growing, I want to be professional, then yes, if you are in a more experimental ground art style-wise, yes, critique is important. But if these are just random ass kids posting on the internet, who the hell cares? Who cares? Honest to God. They're not drawing for you, probably. You're not drawing for them. You're not purchasing their stuff, I imagine. I don't understand why it matters, but let's continue and see.
Before we take a look at the art styles, let's dive into why I personally think this whole movement of, the same art style is happening. I started to notice this trend happening back in 2013 when Steven Universe came out. Since then, cartoonish art made by people between the ages of 12 through 15 through 16 has all just kind of been a mush of the same thing, and you kind of start to not be able to tell artists apart. To me, this trend has started to get you know, even worse when the whole when the whole musical craze started to happen, you know, when everyone was obsessed with Hamilton and Heathers, and then the animatics started to come out, and people have dubbed this art the Tumblr art style because that's where you mostly see this kind of art.
I'm gonna pause this train. So the musical shit she's talking about, I've actually never dove into, and I should also disclaim that personally, that kind of stuff is just not my thing. If you're following me, you probably know that I draw very animu stuff. I like the pretty girls, the big doe eyes, the moe moe kyun bullshit. That's just my taste. The whole Tumblr art style aesthetic thing is just not me. Like, I was kind of there when the whole Cal Arts art style became really popular, you know, Steven Universe, all that kind of stuff, Homestuck, those sorts of boys. It's not for me, so I'm not super involved in it, and I might not be able to as easily recognize those sorts of art styles compared to others. But I feel like there's just like a tinge of saltiness. I don't know. I also want to throw out there that, like, watching this, I get the vibe that this is also a child. I don't know if she's still a child today, but somebody who is sitting here and recording this, she's definitely not really a figure of authority when it comes to these things. Like, she's not really influencing very many people as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. So big shrug on that.
Because, you know, Steven Universe is kind of an SJW show, so that's where all of the art goes onto Tumblr, the SJW website.
Boy. Oh boy. I need to take a drink for that one. Steven Universe is SJW. Oh my lord. Alright, friends. So for people who may not know, Tumblr has been known as an SJW site, otherwise known as Social Justice Warrior. I haven't really been on Tumblr in a few years. Kind of for that reason. Like, don't get me wrong, some social justice, quote unquote, is a good thing, but there's a lot of people just completely off of their rocker. What drove me away is there's a lot of, like, glorification of not so great things, such as, for instance, depression, anxiety, and it was not a very good environment for me personally. And to be completely honest, those people just piss me off, but I don't know. I can understand roasting Tumblr as a whole because the majority of the website that still uses it is kind of those types of people, but I wouldn't call Steven Universe an SJW show. Like, yes, it might attract those kinds of people, but that's because it's very inclusive of, for instance, the LGBTQ community and all sorts of things that kind of like push today's norms without really being direct about it. And it's also a good show, like, genuinely. Usually I don't care about those sorts of things, but I watched almost, I think, all of Steven Universe, and it's really good and it's really inspiring, and I love the art. I love the characters and the character development. I love it, like, honest to God. But I feel like saying that in a critique video is a little unnecessary. But if you want to take extra stabs, sis, I guess.
I've noticed this art style on other websites too, like on DeviantArt and on Twitter. So I've given it the name Every Art Style Ever. I don't know the exact origin of this art style, but that's just my take on it. That's how I've seen it from my perspective.
The origin of this art style is a lot of people were inspired and really like it. It's cute, it's easy to take on, it's pleasant to look at least some art styles. Because some of the generic Tumblr art styles just, they might not appeal to you as much as the other person, but like the Cal Arts, like Steven Universe style, it's very popular because it's cute and it looks good, and that's just what the public thinks. And if you don't like that, well, that's too damn bad. But also at the same time, you are free not to consume those things, and you're also free not to surround yourself in those types of artists. Like, for instance, I'm more of like the animu artist, and the accounts that I follow for the most part are things that reflect my tastes. And if I am being force-fed shit that I don't like, I'm not gonna deal with that shit. I block accounts, or I Unfollow accounts, like, if, for instance, if there's a friend and they're posting something I don't care for, I don't give a shit. I'll unfollow them. So long as I have contact with them in some other form. Like, you don't have to actively consume someone's art to be their friend. So if something you just literally cannot handle, having those kind of art styles around you, like, it bothers you enough to make this kind of video, then perhaps you need to grow a pair and figure out your social media situation. Remove it. That's all I'm telling you.
I'm going to be pointing out things like that I see a lot in this art style, like super common mistakes and just stuff that happens, and then I'm going to talk about why it hinders your art improvement. First thing I'm going to be talking about is faces. The first thing I want to point out is the fact that the faces and all of the features look the same, always. Let's take a look at Renar's art style, for example. I rounded out her art styles into two, which I've also seen in other people's art. Her first is more Steven Universe-esque, and then her second one is extremely cartoony.
That first image is not very Steven Universe at all. Like, yeah, it's kind of like that Tumblr style, but that doesn't look like Steven Universe at all. And the second one is like, okay, and a lot of art styles have a quote-unquote cartoony art style. Not seeing the issue there, sweetie.
If you look at these pictures, now if you take a look at these pictures and think, wow, these all look the same, but I don't know, maybe I'm just messing up, maybe I don't have an eye for art. You're actually right, it is all the same. Structurally, it's literally the same picture. I've gone ahead and highlighted all of these things for you.
Hold up, bad boy. So you might expect me to see that and to be like, yeah, bitch, I understand. Same. Shit's ugly, but actually, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Honest to God, it's cute. Not gonna lie. It's cute. The noses are cute. Blah, blah, blah. And what she is referring to in that instance is what artists call same face syndrome. A lot of us suffer from this, where we tend to default to drawing faces in the same kind of way, same angle, same style, etc., etc. And a quote-unquote good artist is supposedly, supposed to be able to draw faces in much more dynamic situations. But as you may know listening to me by now, if you want to draw something relatively the same every single time and that's what does ya, that is fine. That is literally fine. I don't have a problem with it. If that's what you want to do, hell yeah. If you get a following from doing the same stuff every single time, heck yeah, brother, you do it. If you don't like something like that, guess what? You don't have to follow them. You don't have to consume their stuff. Therefore, if you see somebody that has same face syndrome and you don't like it, there is a magical unfollow or block button on any website, and you are free to use that whenever you want. So for those of you listening right now, if you have same face syndrome and all your stuff looks the same, and let me just clarify, there is a difference between having like a semi-consistent art style and then straight up same face syndrome. Obviously, depending on what you're doing, you're going to want to experiment and have more dynamic face shapes and angles and expressions. But if you're somebody just drawing just to draw, you're just having a fun time, there's nothing wrong. Honest to God, there's nothing wrong with it. Keep it on, brother. But if it's something that bothers you, there's no harm in practicing in various angles and what have you that you don't like. Like, for instance, let's say you have a clear aesthetic happening. Like the person that she just shown, I don't follow them. I haven't investigated, so I don't know for sure. It looks to me like they kind of have sort of an aesthetic going on, and it works for them. They might have a bomb-ass following because of that. So say that's what you're trying to do. You can still experiment and not post it. You know what I'm saying? Just because this girl over here with her video sees all that and doesn't like it, that's her own fucking problem. If you're trying to grow as an artist and you're trying to improve yourself, you don't have to post it. You can still experiment and grow and get better and still kind of maintain this like aesthetic or overall image that you're working on, and it's fine. You know what I mean? So that's my take on that. Let's see what else she has to say.
I would like to be the one to introduce you guys to this amazing concept given us by God. It's called different face shapes. I know it's like amazing. We all have different face shapes. I know, just like look at those faces. Isn't that amazing? I mean, wow. What? Can you bring it? Can I have it? Yeah.
Okay, low-key, the editing is super annoying and I haven't said anything about it yet, but it's like, bruh. If you can go through the work to edit that like that, you can go through the work to cut that shit out. I don't need to experience every 2 seconds of your, like, whatever the fuck that's happening outside your video. That is something that I cannot stand about a lot of videos, is that people ramble, they get off topic, and all this unnecessary shit happens that's easy to cut out. I don't know. That's just my take. That's my personal opinion. That's why I'm not usually, like, watching these kind of videos, but alas. Let's talk about this whole face shape situation. So in some ways, I agree. If you are trying to do like a photorealistic painting, you don't want to stick to the same generic face. You know what I'm saying? Like the straight on or slightly turned to the side white woman with a heart-shaped face. You ain't special if that's all you could do. But if you're really trying to step above the crowd, be magnificent, then you should definitely experiment with different face shapes. But here's the juicy deets. You do not have to. You don't have to draw different face shapes. You don't have to draw different body types, weights, skin colors, eye colors, whatever the fuck, hair types. You do not have to. No one is holding a gun to your head and saying, girl, if you don't draw a square jaw, I'm deleting your account. And sometimes some styles, you just draw faces in a certain way. Like, I wanted to aim for a certain face shape in this comic that I'm working on right now. I don't think it's gonna work out that way. I'm kind of going more of my generic style, but some people, that's just what they like to do, like a rounded chin. Like, obviously not everyone in the world has a perfectly round chin, right? But it doesn't take away from it. It doesn't make whatever someone has made illegitimate. Like, it's still art. It's still a drawing, and it's fine. And if people like it, shit, keep it up. I don't care. Go for it.
Thing I know, it's like quite surprising. And not all of the ears that you draw have to like be Dumbo ears. Like, they could just like fly away. I don't know, they literally look like they could just fly away. So yeah, ears have a shape. Ears aren't just circles. I know that's just your art style, but you do it on every single human. So yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, that's like actually mildly irritating. So you can have an art style and not have everything be super varied. I don't know. And honey, if they want to draw circles, who gives a shit? Honest to God. Who cares? You're so heated for no fucking reason. You can draw different ear shapes, and that's cool. Or you can draw the little circles, and that's cool. Here, I'm gonna say something that's probably obvious. Maybe not, I don't know. But, like, I guess the point of the matter is, she probably thinks that these people cannot draw different shapes, or whatever that may be. They may think that they're incapable, and that's what, like, grinds her gears. Because in her eyes, you're not pushing the bounds and all this kind of shit. Well, you don't have to. If you have the ability to, cool. But go ahead and draw your circle ears if that's what fits you, if that's what you like visually, if that's what makes you feel satisfied. And if you don't like different shapes, you don't have to draw them. That's just the way it be, sis. That's just the way it be. And if you can't draw different ear shapes and you're just drawing the circles, you're drawing the circles because you literally cannot draw any other ear shapes. Like I said before, experiment. There's nothing wrong with that, but no one's holding a gun to your head and saying you can't make it out here in this world if you don't. I know the correct thing to do is to tell you to always push yourself and to experiment and to get better, which of course I do still believe, obviously. But I'm also on the side of, it's okay, wherever you're at now, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? There's too many people that just beat themselves up over the tiniest stuff, like my art style sucks, and they let themselves drag their feet in the mud. Their feet. But there's nothing wrong with where you're at right now. And if someone like this is making you feel bad about where you are right now, well, no offense to whoever this is, but fuck her. Okay, what she says doesn't matter, because there might be 1 or 100 friends who don't like you, but maybe there's 5 or 500 people that do like you. Even if you're not the best, even if you still haven't really achieved as good as you want to be, that's totally cool. And there's going to be people who are going to support you. And honest to God, people like to support like the underdog, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who grows over time. If you just jump onto the internet and you're super good and you don't go anywhere with it, you might be popular, you might have a huge ass following, and it might last for like a year, but it dies off. And the reality is, like, usually accounts that are super popular, either they grow over time and with their followers and people love that, or they blow up and then they die like explosively. You know what I'm saying? They come and they go all the time. So whatever you're doing right now, I got your support. Okay, I need to stop. I need to stop and just listen to her. I'm gonna say the same things.
No, it's like a really popular thing to draw ears like that, but normal ears look fine too. Don't be racist against normal ears.
I really hope she isn't being serious. Like, that's worded like a joke, but I really do hope it's a joke because there's nothing morally wrong with you. Obviously, for drawing shit all the same. Let's move on.
And another amazing concept, different noses exist too. I mean, look at these noses. Isn't that just fantastic? Noses are great. They're a blessing. I'm glad we can breathe oxygen. And the reason why I highlighted the eyes is because all of those eyes are drawn the exact same, and I've noticed this a lot with people that have similar art styles. But I mean, like, look at these eyes. I personally just, like, love the Western way of drawing eyes because they're, like, really diverse. But if anime is more of your thing, then there you go. And of course, Renari has her secondary art style, and once again, it's still the same, so I'm not gonna bother repeating myself, but yeah, there you go. Practically the same.
See, this I don't understand because it's like, what do you want? Like, honest to God, you want somebody to take their extremely simplified cartoon style and put a fucking photorealistic face on it? Like, I don't know what you want. What do you want? Maybe you should get better glasses to perceive with. I don't know. Seeing's pretty cool.
Basically, it's what I just say, you know, it's all the same faces, everything. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell these characters apart if it wasn't for the horns. But, I've seen other people with this art style, you know, like, huge circular heads, like, bigger than the rest of their body, huge circle eyes, and a normal body, and then really thin arms and legs, and then huge feet, and really huge hands. But, anyways, with this, I'd like to come to talk about mouths.
Hold the fuck on. Okay, so? So? Like, you're just gonna say that and, like, not... Okay. Alright, friends, if you draw a big-ass head and a big-ass body, you got them noodle arms and the big old grabbers and steppers, I think that's cute as hell. And if you're doing it, keep doing it. I don't care what the hell she says.
And how there's basically two different ways of drawing mouths in this art style, and, you know, everything else is just like a fusion of these two mouths. So I've gone ahead and made a chart for you guys. The first one is closer to Renari's style, and the second one is, like, you know, more Steven Universe-esque that I see a lot of people use. And the other thing with every art style ever, you can have the mouth go all the way, like, here. Like, the person is, like, smiling, like, huh, but the mouth will, like, it'll be like, huh, and it'll go up to, like, the eye. I don't know what that demonstration just was, but, just have a picture of it on screen, as you can see, like, the mouth is, like, not where it's supposed to be. Marble suffers immensely from Steven Universe mouth syndrome.
Oh my god, there's so many things about this. It's just... like, from a viewer standpoint, like, not even being involved with art, like, whatever the hell is in the background, like, if you can hear that sitting there, you can't just stop for a second, wait for it to pass, and then record? Like, I don't know, but I guess it happens. But regardless, so the thing that she just showed, I think that's cute. I think that's really cute. That's adorable and clever and expressive. I like it. I don't say it that often. And this next one, I also think it's cute. I don't think it's Steven Universe-y. Maybe a little Cal Artsy, but that's just kind of like the popularized, like, Western style. That's just, like, it's in right now, you know? I mean, there's, like, a very, like, quote-unquote in different art styles and what have you, like, even 10, 20 years ago. Like, the style that's popular right now, while it might be visually different, in relative terms, it wasn't that different 20 years ago. Like, people would draw similar things, and that's how it goes. That's how it is. I also want to throw out there really quick that I've noticed sometimes that there's artists who feel like they need to be, like, the most original or most special art style in the world, and they need to come up with something unique and different and all that. And, like, if you can do that, good on you. I would love to do that, but there's nothing wrong with not being there, and you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be the super special original art style. You don't have to have this signature crooked nose that no one else does to be a good artist. Like, that's not what makes a good artist. I'm sorry. You could have the only art style in the world and have no imitators somehow, and that doesn't necessarily really make you a good artist. Just saying. And of course, I'm the kind of person that doesn't believe in like a good artist versus bad artist unless you're a shitty person. But if you're gonna kind of step on a pedestal and pretend like you have the solution and these people don't, girl.
That's what I like to call it. And Yuki suffers more from the first style of mouth, having 2 dots. I mean, we do have like, 2 dots for the mouth, but anyways. But then it's like the mouth just does whatever it wants to. There's really no structure to it because, they don't draw the lips, so the mouth can just like do whatever it wants. It's kind of weird to me, but whatever. Whatever floats your freaking boat. But let me...
Okay, she says whatever floats your boat, but she's still like passionate enough about it to make an entire 15-minute rambly video about it. So I'll just go out and say it's not my cup of tea, those kinds of mouths. And I kind of understand more what she's talking about now that she's shown those images. And I see the whole dots thing very often because it's kind of like the corners of your mouths, like it's kind of creating a shadow, kind of where they're pushed up at. And that in and of itself I think is cute. I think it's interesting how these artists, like the mouths are kind of like up to the side or just kind of like all over the place. And like it's not my cup of tea, but I still think it's kind of cute. Like it's stylized, they're doing their own thing, doing whatever they need to express whatever the heck. That's totally fine.
Let me introduce you guys to another fantastic concept. It's called different types of lips. Here's some, normal Western style lips, and then here's some anime lips if you're into anime lips, mouths, whatever is your thing. The same nose is very prominent too. People like to...
Hold up, so here's the bomb diggity. So for a Western style, she shows more like realism styled stuff than for anime. She just straight up shows anime. None of what she showed is quote unquote lips, any differently than the artist she was just displaying beforehand. And I don't understand how she doesn't understand how the mouths that she just showed aren't that different from like the anime ones. Like there's still variation in expression and location and shape and style. Just because there's not fucking lips doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Like, does she expect these people to draw lips? I don't get it. Like, if they're clearly drawing a cartoon style, throwing those hyper-realistic lips on them is probably not gonna make that much sense. Just saying. And if that's what they choose to do, and that's what they feel like makes their image look complete, sure. But let me humor her again for a second and say, in order to be a good artist, that you need to be able to draw that kind of shit. I don't know. Like, no one say that. It's just, you can draw that kind of stuff and still revert back to this art style that you find comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, I could do photorealistic paintings, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I choose not to draw them because I don't feel like fucking drawing them. That's my choice. And I like that. Sometimes I like drawing like that, but I don't have to. No one has to draw a specific style. No one has to be hyper diverse. And like the whole thing about like simplified cartoon styles is they kind of like, they're all very similar. Like even ones that are probably more diverse to her standards, like they're still very similar. Like they might have varying nose shapes, but they still have the same mouths and stuff like that. There's plenty of American or Western cartoons that don't have lips and stuff. Like whatever, but let's hear her go off about noses.
Dub this as the Tumblr nose because, people that draw with this type of nose, their art is primarily found on Tumblr. I've already showed examples if we're not ready, but here's Old Trash rocking that Tumblr nose, and Yokio has a really intense Tumblr nose, and Minky here displaying her awesome Tumblr nose. I think that pretty much covers the face section.
So the only thing I found like in common is that they're kind of like, at least what I've noticed with the quote unquote Tumblr noses, usually they're more of like a round shape and they have like shading on them. So they might have like the pink or the brown nose and it's in a roughly round shape. And that's, I don't know, it's a fucking stylistic choice. Is it my cup of tea? No. Is it bad? No. And if they want to draw them big and honking and goofy, go for it. I support it.
What you can do is watch speed paints from people that have like really unique art styles. It's the thing I've done when I was like struggling because I kept drawing the same thing. And so if you look at other people draw completely differently than how you draw, it'll really influence you. And
let me pause this for a second. So I briefly looked at her accounts. I don't know what it is. Maybe she was kind of like shamed off of the internet. I'm not personally sure, but she doesn't really draw that much from what I see. Like, her Instagram is just selfies. Her DeviantArt apparently has been abandoned, but a lot of her shit that I saw seemed to have same face syndrome or same art style syndrome. Like, most of her stuff was like My Little Pony or furry stuff. So it's a little harder for me, I guess, to kind of like combat because it's its own territory. And then she had a couple of like more realistic paintings-ish. Like, they're not really, but they're kind of there. So I don't know, but
struggling because I kept drawing the same thing. And so if you look at other people draw completely differently than how you draw, it'll really influence you and what you draw. I don't know why it's weird, but it works personally. Drawing.
Okay, personally, but I don't know if that works for everybody. Like, there's some people that have been watching me draw since like I started on the internet, and sometimes, like a lot of the time, I'll be honest, I see people influenced by what I do, but not all the time. Not everybody's going to be influenced by watching other artists with different style.
With the every art style ever style really hinders your art progress, because when it comes to drawing faces and you draw literally the exact same face over and over again, your brain just gets so used to it, and you're not giving your brain the opportunity to step out of its comfort zone. And if you don't draw different face shapes or different ears, mouths, eyes, and noses, you're probably going to be stuck drawing the same thing over and over and over again.
Alright, everybody, hot take. I've been drawing my whole life almost, but I've been like drawing and posting it digitally since 2007, right? When I was a literal preteen. I had a really hard case of same face syndrome. I drew the same shit, the same way every single time. My hands are spikes. My face was exactly the same. Guess what? My stuff doesn't look like that anymore. You naturally progress all the time, and of course, references, inspiration, pushing your bounds are super important and valuable in your growth, but that does not mean you are never going to get better. And hear me out. If you are a little youngin' and you're watching this and you suffer from same face syndrome, or you just think your art looks like crap, or anything that this chick is saying that might kind of tickle you the wrong way underneath your butt cheeks, you don't need to go out right now and start hyper realistically drawing in order to get better, right? It will come naturally. The more you draw, the more you practice, it will come. You will reach a point where you'll be like, oh, you know what? This doesn't look right. And then you try to fix it. And that just happens. It's just what happens when you draw, when you do art. It happens naturally. Obviously, surrounding yourself in references and inspiration and really actually pushing yourself to experiment will help you get there faster, but that doesn't mean it will never come.
It'll be really hard to improve. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on why I think it hinders you from reaching your full potential. It really does kind of sadden me because these artists are so good at coloring. Like, I wish I was this good at coloring. Like, they're good at everything else. It's just the anatomy and their proportions that are just so off and kind of weird. Whatever. I hope that advice will help.
It's not that their proportions are off. It's that you don't like their art style. Like, be honest with yourself. Another thing I don't understand is we're now officially 10 minutes into this video, and she hasn't explicitly stated why drawing in these sort of ways hinders their art style, other than saying like, oh, your brain won't be able to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, first of all, that's not how that works. Second of all, how do I say this? Like, is that it? Like, there's still almost 5.5 minutes left to this gosh dang video. I have no idea what else she's gonna say, but I don't think she's really said anything valuable. Like, if I was to sit in her seat and have an issue with those types of drawings, I'd say probably the worst thing I could say about it, thinking I was helpful, is like, maybe you have to stop drawing what you like, ? If there's a show you really like and that's all you like and that's all you draw, you're never gonna get anywhere, but that's not necessarily true and I don't agree with that. Shrug.
Someone out there. So let's go on to our next section, the bodies. I don't see too much of an issue with how these people draw bodies because everyone kind of draws them differently, but I do see the same mistakes with every one of them.
Hold on, I'm gonna pause this really quick. So it seems like to me what she's saying is these people do have dynamic ways of drawing. It's just that she doesn't like their quote-unquote art style. Because let's be real, these faces or whatever are what these artists want as like their signature, right? When these images come up somewhere on the internet, those artists want you to see it and be like, oh, that's so-and-so. That's what they want, right? And you can do all kinds of crazy shit, but like so much, it's like the face is so important, right? And it's especially what makes art like recognizable. Let's be realistic. If we just like put a black box over every single artist that you follow, there might not be a lot to really differentiate the rest of the image. Like the only thing I can determine is line art style and shading style, because if you take those two things away and the face is completely cropped out, a lot of people's styles are going to look similar. Again, I want to clarify, there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, I've noticed the proportions are always really off, and it's weird. Or they just never draw bodies and they only draw headshots, like Minky does. Here's a picture I decided to use as an example. For this one, I used I've used art made by Yuki, and as you can see, the legs are two completely different sizes. Like, I know one of them is lifted up, but does your leg shrink when you lift it up in real life? I don't think so. If you do, you should probably see a doctor for that. Another thing I've highlighted is that the body is leaning forward, making everything else really unproportionate to what the pose is supposed to be. And that's
Hold on, let me pause this bad boy. So in some ways she's correct. Like, the anatomy is obviously not great in this picture because they're trying to be kind of dynamic about it, but like the actual pose itself is not dynamic. Like from the waist up, it looks like it's kind of facing towards the camera, and then from the waist down, it looks like it's trying to somewhat face away with the leg up. And because the leg on the left is the same thickness on the leg as the right, it appears that it's just like shorter. Also, hot take, people do have shorter legs in real life. It happened, not like extremely, but it's enough to kind of make you like naturally lean to one side or the other.
something I've noticed a lot with beginner artists is how they always make their characters lean forward, and I'm just like, stop. So I've gone ahead and corrected it based on the pose she was trying to achieve. I kind of messed up on the foot. The foot is actually on the ground and not kind of like.
See, I don't like this because she's like, don't worry, I've gone ahead and fixed it. No one fucking asked you to. Like, the thing on the left, if that's what that person wants to achieve at the end of the day and they don't want to do anything to it, that's totally fine, right? Nothing wrong with that. If they want to get better, sure, but no one fucking asked you, dude.
Along with the other leg, and the other leg is actually the same size as the one that's on the ground, and her body is straight up. Here's another example. This art is by Minky, of the proportions being incorrect with basically the same pose. The only difference is that one arm is shorter than the other.
I don't know if I agree with that one. Like, kinda, like the body should be tilted slightly more because the bodice part looks a little too straight on for those arms to be those varying lengths to achieve that kind of like perspective that she's looking for, but it's not too far off. Whereas like it doesn't look like one arm shorter than the other. It looks like the guy is turned to the side, and having the arm shorter helps achieve that. If they made it the same visual length as the other one, it would look like he's more straight on, which is not correct, I think, for what the artist is trying to achieve. That's just my take.
This art is by Minky, of the proportions being incorrect with basically the same pose. The only difference is that one arm is shorter than the other. The reason why I'm highlighting proportions is because, you know, if you don't, you kind of are, you start thinking like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just, you know, not looking at this correctly. And so you kind of brush it off, but if you actually go in and draw the proportions and the shapes, then you start to notice the mistakes. So yeah.
You know what, guys? You actually can do that, like in other people's art. I think it's a great way to practice, to kind of like redline other people's work and try to like guess where, you know, the body is underneath all the clothes and all that kind of stuff, and try to understand the proportions. That's one of the biggest things that I really like, what's the word? Push for when it comes to bases, because you're relatively doing the same thing, right? That's what I liked about making bases back when I used them, and that's how I got better as an artist growing up, because you still have to like break down and understand basic proportions. The only problem with that, of course, is like not every base is going to be proportionally accurate or anatomically correct, which is just the stab you take if you don't understand it enough. So I would recommend, honest to God, if you're looking to kind of like improve yourself, your anatomy, your proportions, all that kind of stuff, do figure sketches. Take actual random real pictures of people and try to break down where you think the body goes, and then take actual like anatomical references and compare it to, you know? And just because you understand how to draw realistic proportions and what have you doesn't mean that you can't turn them into like a simplified art style, like a cartoon art style or an anime art style. Like, it will come to you, and drawing realistic won't take away from that. It'll just help you get there faster.
This art here is by Marble-y. I've picked this one out because I noticed that people that draw with this art style never really draw a knees or any proportion to the leg whatsoever. It just ends up looking like one long sausage with feet attached to them, and they seem to draw really tiny bodies with no waist, but those are people that draw closer to the Steven Universe style, so yeah. When I first looked at this...
So with that one, I'll admit, it reminds me of Steven Universe, but the thing is like, just because it doesn't have knees, doesn't mean there's not proportion there. Like, there's plenty of cartoons where they don't draw the knees. Like, I don't understand why she's coming after these quote-unquote Tumblr artists acting like they're the worst things ever, when there's literal American cartoons that do similar things, and they make a living off their work. Like, I don't understand what the issue is. Like, is it realistically, anatomically correct? No. But who gives a shit? If that's how they like to draw, that's how they like to draw. I can only imagine where she's going with this next one.
This art, it's by Old Trash. I couldn't really tell what was wrong with it, but then I realized something's off, but I just couldn't tell. So I went ahead and highlighted the shapes and proportions, and then I took away the background. And now you can see what I'm talking about. You know, the head is really tiny compared to the body and the arms. The shoulders are really short, and then the forearm is really short, and the hands are huge. The body is basically just a square, and the legs are really long and oddly close together. I don't know if I'm making sense with this, but I hope I am.
So I noticed immediately that there's like something wrong with the legs, where like the lower knee or the left knee is too low, but otherwise like it's fine the way it is. I know that she's going through saying blah blah blah, but like also redlining is super subjective. Like you can go and redline it super correctly and it would still kind of like fit underneath the clothes of this character, you know what I'm saying? But I think she's just kind of like desperately trying to claw out examples, because I'm sure she threw this all together in one day. But
Fran, it's just their art style. A ton of cartoonists draw with weird proportions in their art. That's true. However, cartoonists need to make everything proportionate to each other. They need to make things harmonized so that it looks good. These artists don't do that, and they don't make things harmonized. To make things look good together with weird proportions, you need to first learn the basics of anatomy. You need to learn actual real-life proportions, because to break the rules of art, you have to first learn them. So here's some examples.
In some ways, she's correct and I agree, and other ways I'm like, bruh. Like I said before, it's easier to learn all of the correct proportions and then mess with them. But these things are subjective. So first of all, the thing that she's showing, I don't think is all that accurate, because the lower half of the legs look really short and the torsos look really long. And here's the thing, people are different in real life. Like for instance, I have longer calves than these people and shorter torso than these people, and I kind of draw based on that. Like I draw kind of how I'm shaped. I don't know if everybody does that, but not everybody is that way, you know what I'm saying? And even if somebody were to draw super realistically, they're not necessarily going to follow this. And I also don't like the head reference thing, like, oh, a child is 6 heads, an adult is 7 heads, because how are you going to know that you're relatively drawing heads like the same size? How are you going to know that you're drawing the shoulders the same size? You should start with just the simple shapes, your circles and your lines, and make, you know, the sketch skeleton, if you will, tweak it. It sure is tricky, because I think personally that you should absolutely try mastering normal proportions before, of course, trying to bend and break them. And that's what a professional would do. But not everybody's a professional, and people need to understand that. Some people just draw for a hobby, and I don't think there's really a problem there. And if you don't want to go and learn anatomy, you don't have to. But I should also state that I think probably a lot of us out there are really intimidated with anatomy, right? We're intimidated by proportions. I don't think you should be. I don't think you should be that scared at all. I think it's gonna be fine. You can literally go onto Google and type in anatomy tutorials. You could probably find them on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you use, they're probably gonna be there. And in your own free time, in your own comfort, experiment, doodle, whatever, and if it doesn't look right, cool, move on, keep going. Try even better next time, and just keep that up. Don't let it anchor you down, though.
Of anatomy proportions, and then, you know, from that you can take it and modify it, but at the same time keeping it proportionate all to each other. The reason why not practicing real life anatomy hinders your art style is because it's kind of for the same reason as before. Your brain just gets so used to drawing the same thing that then when you try to draw something different, you realize that it looks bad and you feel like you're incapable of drawing anything else, so then you keep drawing the same way. And, you know, it's just...
So I feel like yes and no with that. I feel like a lot of us get really anchored down and we go, oh, this is bad, and think that we can't do better. But I don't believe this nonsense that, like, your brain gets trapped in one art style. Like, I don't think that's true. Like, what you should do when you're drawing, and let's say you're really struggling, is open an image or several images of art styles you really admire and try to incorporate those into your own art as much as possible. And of course, like, one sketch isn't it and you're done. If you need to do more, or you need to layer it on, do 50 sketches, even. If that's what it takes for you to feel like you need to get to where you want to be, then do it. Nothing's holding you back.
The loop that you get stuck in because you don't get out of your comfort zone, and so then you never improve. So yeah, that's just what I have to say about it. A lot of people have made videos on the Tumblr art style, and I just wanted to give my opinion on it.
Alright, so let's wrap this bad boy up with some final thoughts. So, one thing I should state is that the video was made a year and a half ago or something like that, ish. She has her comments removed, or unavailable, whatever the heck you call it. She has almost a half-to-half dislike to like ratio. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say she might not feel the same today. So this video is not like a response to her personally, but more so to people that might stumble upon it. And, you know, I'm talking to you, the viewer, the audience, someone who might be an artist. This is what I think personally. The thing is, people kind of tend to find art styles that they don't like, and to them, they're gonna see the things that they don't like about it over and over and over again, and to them, it's the same thing over and over and over again, and they might feel like it's being crammed in their face. Because who knows, this person might follow a whole bunch of people that have very similar tastes to her in terms of hobbies and what have you, and she might see a lot of this stuff a lot. And so I feel like her personal distaste is going to be stronger. Because she just shows the Tumblr art style, right? She doesn't show, like, anime art with, like, same face syndrome, shitty anatomy, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like a huge part of it is personal grudge. I also feel like a huge part of this video is I think this person is also very young, very inexperienced, and just wants to make a heated video on the internet really quick. I would go out on a limb and say that this isn't that deep and important to them. And obviously, I don't know this person for sure or not, but there might be a tiny bit of jealousy, because comparing her art alongside the thumbnail of the artist she talked about in her video, like, I'm more drawn towards those art styles than her art styles, right? And I mean, they're older, but if I scroll up, it's still the same thing. She draws shrug, like kind of furry stuff, and some random realism stuff. I don't know. I don't like being mean, but I don't think that what she's making is any more particularly special or greater than the people she's quote-unquote critiquing. So I don't know if there's like an element of jealousy there. I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave you guys out with this right here. Art is incredibly subjective. If you can tape a banana to a wall and it is art, you can draw your freaking Tumblr art style that Fran hates, and it's fine. No one is out there telling you you have to improve, because how do you even realistically like draw the line over where improvement is? Because improvement to you might not be improvement to somebody else. It really, really depends. And of course, I'm not saying that you can't improve, because I'm definitely pushing towards people to improve if they can. But I really, really think that it's important and valuable to know that you don't have to be improving every single time you draw. You don't have to improve every year you draw. You don't feel pressured to quote unquote improve, because your progress is going to be completely different in comparison to somebody else's, and what you think is improvement and what somebody else thinks is improvement could be two completely different things. What you think is an art style and what someone else thinks is an art style could also be two completely different things. So at the end of the day, not to be like passive Peggy over here, but like, it's fine. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a Tumblr quote unquote art style, and the Tumblr quote unquote art style can vary a lot. And her video was made like, what, a year and a half ago, right? So the every art style ever or whatever could different now. I don't know, because I don't follow those kinds of people. But everything varies for everybody, and whatever you're doing right now, if you like it, please, for the love of beans, keep doing it. You will progress naturally. You will get better, especially if you're younger. Because you have other things going on that are probably more important. Your relationships, school, your health, whatever it may be that's going on in your life, those are very important. And I was definitely a kid that didn't value those things, so you should definitely value them. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for putting up with me and putting up with this. I just redid my Patreon. That's been like inactive since 2015, so if you'd like to support me, the link will be down below. If you don't have moolah, that's totally cool. Give this a thumbs up, that'd be awesome. And even more importantly, let me know what you think. Like, what do you think about all of this? So what is your take on the things that she was talking about? How do you feel about art styles? Do you hate the Tumblr art style? All that kind of stuff. Interested in knowing, so give me a follow if you can. Join our Discord server if you can. If not, that's cool. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye!